Good morning! I'm sorry if it's a bit scary Mary this morning, but I'm stood in the back of Maddie. It's pitch black. It is blowing a hoolie. It is 5:45. And it is, excuse me, I'm just trying to put my boots on, the Monday where stay at home has finished. And I needed to come to the coast. Oops, excuse me. There were a lot of factors that I had to think about before I took a trip out this morning. Excuse me, I'm just getting tangled up in my wires. I'm trying to put my waders on because I am not going to get wet feet today. Sunrise is at the ungodly hour of 20 to 7. So given that we can't stay away from home, I needed somewhere that was relatively close. I didn't want to be travelling for 3 hours if it was possible to avoid it. And I'm getting all tangled up here. Can't be that hard to put your waders on, can it? I also, obviously, needed somewhere where the tides were going to be right. That was going to be the real problem. So having spent copious hours, I started looking, excuse the noise, my waders out on my back. I started looking for locations the second Boris said stay at home was going to end. And all the way up here this morning, I've been thinking to myself, it must look, if you could be up in the air, sort of ISS, looking at the UK, it must be like wacky races. Because I suspect every photographer and their dog headed for their car first thing this morning. There really is only one location for me, and it's somewhere I've been a couple of times, and I thought to myself, do I really want to go to the same place again? And I considered my options, and I thought, actually I haven't got any option at all. The decision is made. So I'm at Hornsea, and I can genuinely say, right at this moment in time, I don't care if I get a photograph worthy of sticking on a wall. I really don't. What I do care about is that I'm at the coast. It's 12.5 degrees. You've got more chance of crossing fog than getting a sunrise. And I knew this before I came. And that, as I say, excuse me, is why the photography is just not important today. Today it is all about being out there, breathing in the sea air, and enjoying the sounds of the coast. So come with me, let's go and have a look and see what's happening. I apologise in advance if it's incredibly noisy, but we are stood right at the edge of the water, and I'm sheltering behind the seawall, and I'm just waiting for things to happen, which I'm not convinced they're going to, but hey ho, like I said, photography comes second. And I've got my new gloves on, and it's been brilliant. All of my hands except my two fingers, and my fingers and my thumbs, are lovely and warm. Now, as I was saying in the van, there was a lot of considerations to be made before deciding to head out this morning. I didn't want to be travelling for 3.5 hours. I wanted to stay as local as I could. Well, local for me, for the coast, is Hornsea. Then I needed to consider the tides. Luckily, very luckily, high tide and sunrise kind of coincide here at Hornsea. Then Mother Nature threw us a bit of a spanner in the works and decided, oh, let's chuck some gale force winds in. So we've got 37 mile an hour gusts today, up until around about dinner time, I believe. Luckily, the winds are coming from the southwest. Sorry, I'm just keeping a watchful eye on what's going on. So they're coming across country, so it's maybe not quite as breezy here as I would be if I was stood on the west coast or the south coast. I've also got this seawall giving me a little bit of shelter. The wind is kind of coming in from across me somewhat, but nothing that's going to cause me any major grief whatsoever. If I just spin you around, it's maybe not quite as blue as it looks here. We've got a little band of colour coming up here, which could illuminate this area, but I'm not banking on it. I think the sun is going to pop up through that gap and then immediately get hidden by this bank of cloud here. But who cares? I'm over the coast. I'm surprised I slept last night. I was that excited. As it is, I think I've had about 3 hours kip. Because I just couldn't get to sleep when I went to bed. And then this morning was like, bing, 3:30, the alarm's gone off, yay! There's not a soul about. And that's the other reason for coming out this time in the morning. Although, yes, stay at home has been lifted, I still don't want to be mixing with loads of people that I don't know. And other than photographers, I don't think there's going to be anybody else around. There'll be dog walkers and things. But everybody keeps their distance here, it's great. It's not a touristy hotspot. It's fabulous. I'm going to do minimal work. As I say, I'm not expecting anything fantastic. It's a secondary consideration today, taking photographs. The main thing is just to enjoy being at the coast, listening to the gulls, listening to the waves. Wonderful. I'm going to get set up, see if I can get any images. Is moving. You can see how much it's brightened up. I haven't got my little camera light on now. The cloud is actually moving quite nicely. We've got a lovely band of a streak of colour over there. But as I say, it's not going to have any effect on anything at all. Because some of the cloud is moving, in fact, let's see. You can see the slightly lower level cloud moving across quite nicely. I've popped the 6 stop on and a 0.6 hard grab. I'm going to be running at about 45 seconds, I suspect. Can't remember what the f-stop is. Oh, F9. F9 it is. I'm just going to see what that gives me. I've just framed up these 3 here and that one. And they're sort of leaning, pointing into the image from the right to the left. The sea is so much calmer than I expected it to be. I kind of expected to get here and waves going all over the place. But as I say, the wind is coming from the southwest, so maybe that's not going to happen. It's a lighthouse off in the distance, and I'm trying to think if that's Whitby. You might not make it out on here. Somewhere over in the distance there, we've definitely got a lighthouse flashing away. Yes, there is definitely something about the seaside, the ions in the atmosphere. I've moved the white balance up to about 83 because it's blue anyway out here today. And I've got the 6 stop on, so you have to adjust the colour balance for that slightly. And I'm just letting it run. Can't tell you how good these gloves feel. Oh, let's have a look, see where we're up to. Yeah. Very slightly underexposed. There is a patch of bright there, which is just clipping the side of the image, but I can't tweak the image to get rid of it without moving forward, which I really don't want to do because then the tripod's going to get whacked by the waves. I might have a little go in a minute. But yeah, that was kind of the effect I was after. And that was... Where are we? Oh no. Just want to see how long the exposure was for. Doo-doo-doo. It was 133.3 seconds. Whew. That smoothed the sea out and given me a little bit of streakiness in the sky. As I say, there's just that patch on the right hand side that's rather annoying. I am shooting into the sun, not my favourite occupation. The reason for it, see those lights there? It must be an oil rig or something, or a tanker. But if I shoot that way, I'm going to get that in it. And it'll be easy enough to clone out, but that is going to be a really big blown spot. And I might nip over. There's a very handy set of steps here to get over to the other side. Hence my bag is on it and my other tripod, just to ensure I don't get caught by a wave. Right, I am going to nip over. Oh, now that is weird. You may not make it out. Up here, there's clouds moving in one direction, and then there's some clouds moving in another direction. That's really bizarre. Never seen that before. And that bright spot is disappearing. Oh, that is really random. And it probably is an optical illusion, because I've got clouds scudding that way. No, it's not. You're really not going to make it out. These clouds seem to be moving that way, and these clouds seem to be moving that way. How bizarre. But they are slowly covering up that bright spot, which is really good. And I'm getting the glow on the horizon. Oh. Well, I've nipped round the other side and I'm having to jiggle and juggle all sorts of things. The breeze, as you can tell from my hood being blown up, is slightly stronger around this side of the steps. That's where I was just now, over there. So I'm having to stand, I'm just making sure you're plugged in, shielding the camera because I keep getting a little bit of a gust of wind. But I've managed to compose so that I have the breakwaters or wooden groins or whatever you want to call them directly in line with the colourful clouds. Ha! Still running the 6 stop because I've got some clouds going above. Crossing over, sorry, I'm getting all excited, I can't get my words out. There are some clouds moving across the sky that's slightly below the colourful bits. There you go. You can kind of see my composition, although I am shooting portrait orientation. We have the groins and a little bit of colour, and it's been very, very fleeting. It was like a minute and a half, maybe. And I think I've got one composition. I set it up slightly wrong in that I got the side of this in, so that's going to get cloned out. It's what happens when you rush. But I did say the photography was second. And it's hanging on there, and it's not quite as colourful as usual as this phone makes it look. Just standing here and watching it is wonderful. And still, nobody else about. Right, time to check that exposure. Well, now that I'm confident the tide is well on its way out and we're not getting any majorly big gusts of wind, I feel a bit happier just having a bit of a wander around. The 6 stop images were working fine. I've got that lovely smoothness to the water. I haven't bothered with the polarizer I might try one with the polarizer, but I think the sun is at too close an angle. I think it's going to mess the sky up, which I don't want. So just for giggles, I popped the 10 stop in, which is partly why I'm wandering around. I'm just going to leave it to cook. I was getting 40 seconds on the 6 stop, and that was at f14. I've dropped it down to f10. I'm still at ISO 100, and I'm just going to let it do its thing. The white balance moved up to 10,000 kelvins. We're still getting the odd wave that is coming really well in. And it is kind of the 10, I should know, I nearly forgot, but never mind. Yes, kelvin's gone up to 10,000 because if I want to keep this image colour, I don't want to faff around with white balance in post-processing. I would prefer to get it right in camera. If I change it to mono, it really doesn't matter. But at the moment, I think I might want to keep it colour. The clouds that were scudding across are now thickening up. You see up there, there's still some light cloud up there, which is quite nice. But as you go out towards the sea, we get this thick, gloopy stuff. And that band on the horizon, see that cloud there? That's the sort of thing you really don't want. And the reason for going the 10 stop route, and I'm sorry if the wind is interrupting the audio here, is to try and smooth everything out, to lose the horizon. There's not a huge amount of difference between the horizon and the sea, but I want to try and lose as much of that as I can so that I can finish blending it away in post to give an image that doesn't have a horizon. Oh, my grammar is getting appalling. And I'm still messing around with my long exposure, still got my 10 stop on, and as you can see the sun is now really, really bright, and I am slightly lower down with the tripod, and I'm still concentrating on these bad boys. The sun is casting some gorgeous light on that. I'm having to be very careful to shield the side of the lens from the direct sunlight so I don't get any lens flare. And the one thing I possibly don't mention very often is in between shots, check your focus. I will get myself into all sorts of weird positions, which means I'm crouching down, I've got my filters balancing on my knee, just watching the water come in. I'll recheck my focus between every image, because even if you think the tripod hasn't moved, it may well have done, or you may have knocked the lens when you were checking to see how the last exposure turned out. So it's always worth double checking your focus. And I'm now just playing around with the 10 stop. I love the 10 stop. I've forgotten how good it was. And it's not everybody's cup of tea, and it's going to be a really samey set of images because I'm just concentrating on this one subject. But the 10 stop is giving me some nice movement in the sky. I'm on about 170 seconds, I think. Still ISO 100, still white balance 10,000 kelvins, and on F10. The sea is so calm, and it is taking a long time to go out. My apologies if this has been a bit of a samey video. Long exposures, the same subject, but this is a let's not put any pressure on me, let's just get out, remember what I'm doing, and do what I really enjoy, and see what sort of images I can make today. That's all it's about today. Well, that was a truly glorious morning. It is about 10 to 8 and there's I say nobody else around. I've seen 3 lots of dog walkers and that's it. I'm conscious you're a little bit on the squiff. You might have to make do with being drunk. Just a second. I'm not sure that's any better, but hey ho. It is a Monday, so there's obviously people at work. Put my fingers away because they're getting cold. And it has been a gazillion% better condition-wise than I was expecting. We did get a little bit of colour in the sky. The wind has been a lot calmer than I was expecting, and certainly calmer than the forecast would have had me believe. We were looking at 38 mile an hour gusts and 25 mile an hour standard winds. And I've remembered how to use a 10-stop. Woo! And yes, I'm aware that it is going to be a bit of a samey one regards the images, because I was just concentrating on one subject. I wanted to get as much out of that particular set of drawings as I possibly could. So landscape orientation, portrait orientation, 10-stop, 6-stop. I tried to do some shorter exposures, but the sea, the waves as they were coming in, it was just too white. I was just ending up with a mass of white foam rather than those really nice streaks that I like. So I went the other way, banged the 10-stop on, smoothed everything out. It kind of lost the horizon. There might be a bit of blending to do. I might just leave them as they are, because although there is an horizon line there, there is not a marked difference between sky and sea. There's a little bit of a difference. So I might just leave that as it is. And that's it, I've done. Now I'm still shooting with my old camera. I might take the new camera out this afternoon or this evening for sunset, just to have a play with it. I've got to get used to it. I'm not very good with change. I don't like change. I need to spend a bit of time this afternoon charging the batteries. That will be a good start. Setting it up, getting back button focus working, figuring out how to do long exposures, all that type of thing. I might actually have to read the instruction manual. Oh. But the idea behind it was, I love the D7200. It has taken a proper bashing. I can turn it off. Over the last, I don't know how old this camera is, 4 or 5 years? 4 or 5 years old? It has taken some serious hammer. I'm not the best at looking after my gear. I want to be able to send this one away, get it serviced, get it cleaned up properly. I also want to send the 70-200 lens away, get that cleaned up. And then when it comes back, I've got a backup body. If I get on with this new camera, then I'll tell you about it. If I don't get on with it, I'm sending it back to the shop. I wanted another D7200, but they're obviously not making those anymore, so I had to move. No, I haven't gone full frame. I would have to spend far too much money changing my lenses to justify the expense. I'm not a professional. I don't sell hundreds of images. I don't do thousands of workshops. I can't justify the expense of a full frame camera. So I'm still sticking with the crop. Right, that's it. I need to go to the van, take my ever so sexy woohoo waders off, and I didn't even think about getting wet feet this morning. I knew if I'd walked down here in my normal boots, I would have got wet feet. But hey ho. Grab a cup of tea and head on home. And I'll catch up with you guys later on. Thanks for all the subscriptions, by the way. It's really great. I'm going to say it again. Like and subscribe. I feel awful saying that. And I'll catch up with you on the next one. Bye for now.